We're very proud to be working with Canterbury Park. They're having a great meet. So many player-friendly initiatives, including the Big Ten BCBC handicapping contest. This is coming up on Thursday, September 16th. And there's going to be 10 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge entries, 2 NHC entries, $10,000 in guaranteed cash. Once again, September 16th is the day for it. Definitely one you're going to want to check out. You can buy in for $3,000, or you can qualify via horsetourneys.com. They even have on-site satellite contests at Canterbury, which I absolutely love. So much cool stuff going on at Canterbury this meet. You're going to want to check them out. For more information, go to canterburypark.com. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players Podcast. This is our show for Friday, August 13th, covering the races of Saturday, August 14th. As many PPs as I've been looking at, I have no idea why I had to check my watch on that, but I did, and that's okay. Very excited to have a trio of guests for you today covering Saratoga, Woodbine, and Del Mar. They are in order: Sean Clancy, Drew Coatney, and Scotty McKeever, and we'll be getting to the show right after this. Shout out to our friends at NYRA Bets. Talk about great meets going on right now. Saratoga has exceeded expectations, and we're so happy about the return of the $1 pick six. We've seen several carryovers already. It's something we can watch for and root for every day to have great opportunities for players. And we have special pick six carryover shows as well. So far, NYRA's even been sponsoring them, so they're free, but definitely worth checking out. Everything going on. I'm sure most of you listening already are, but also want to make you aware of the special Saturday handicapping contest, the low roller contest on Thursday and Sunday. For contest players, this is a circuit you got to be paying attention to. Go to the NYRA website, and it's pretty easy to navigate to the handicapping contest area. You can get all the information there. You can see the URL up on screen there. It's not like a handy dandy one for repeating online, but believe me, if you go to NYRA.com and navigate through a racing handicapping challenges, you'll be able to find it and get all the information. We encourage you to do that. For more information, go to NYRA.com. First up on the show, now that we've taken a few minutes to remove all visible signs of laundry from the set on his end, we're thrilled to be joined on the day of the Saratoga Special by the co-creator of the other Saratoga Special, my old friend, one of the sharpest guys I know when it comes to all things horse racing, Sean Clancy. Sean, what's happening?
Everything's good. I know you had to knock me for that for the laundry comment, because I knocked you once when I heard your laundry in the background.
I'm actually surprised more people didn't complain that day.
On your laundry? Yeah, it was. So yeah, now we're even on that. So
that's a fairly good point.
I won't knock you for doing your laundry.
The laundry wars continue. Yeah. Now the story, and both of us have good excuses. You obviously coming up here to live and work pretty much round the clock for 8 weeks a year. You know, you do laundry when and how you can. For me, I'm in this tricky situation where my wife Susan actually prefers our cleaning lady Blanca to me. So I have to be very careful not to run afoul of Blanca. And once in a while, we're in a situation where it's Grand Central Station upstairs in the bunker, or upstairs in the house back in Brooklyn, and the bunker becomes Blanca's lair. Anyway, once in a while, you'll hear the laundry in the background. I try to minimize it. You used to hear it a lot more. It's actually gotten a lot better. So that, if that means anything. Actually, if I brought in the high-powered mic, I could probably eliminate it for those days. But anyway.
It adds to it. It adds to the atmosphere. It's important to know, who you're dealing with, right?
Well, that's a fair point. So now that we've aired our dirty laundry, sorry, I couldn't resist. I want to ask you about what's been going on over at the Saratoga Special. I've been enjoying your work this summer. It's been particularly excellent. The sales coverage was top-notch. How's the experience been for you this summer?
It's been good. It's been different for us, and we're not doing every day. We did every day during sales week, so we did 6 in a row. But for the most part, we're just doing Wednesday, Saturday. So it's been a lot that part, the workload's a lot easier. Certainly, not doing it every day. It's not nearly as kind of thrilling, and, you don't get the urgency like you usually do. But for now, we just, with COVID, we're still kind of, trying to climb our way out of stuff. So we had a limited publishing run this year, but it's been fun. I think the racing's been fun. I think the product's been good. And look, as anybody, you're just happy to be back in any capacity. It's just great to be back in Saratoga. I think all of us just suffered through last year. It was it's devastating to all of us. So we're just glad to be back.
It wasn't the same without you guys. And I mean, I have to say it's a model similar to what we use. As long as when you get the reviewing and the previewing, of course it's better if you can have coverage daily or nearly daily, but you're still able to cover the top stories and give a lot of great information for horse players and horse racing fans and horse racing industry people. So it's a big win in that regard. Let's talk about this pick 6 on Saturday, Sean. It starts off with race number 6. 3:55 is the scheduled post time for this 2-year-old maiden colts race, going 6 on the dirt. I always try to pay attention to the subtle differences in distance that aren't always so subtle between the shorter sprints, the 6 furlong and the 7 furlong action. Very curious to get a thought from you on this one. Where does your eye go?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is you get a little lucky having this as your first leg, so you can see the tote board a little. You get a sense of some of these first-time starters. I mean, I think that helps. I went with Shug on the outside, second-time start. I thought the horse's his debut was decent. Came back and had a good breeze. Again, you have to be careful of these first-time starters. I mean, if the board opens up and Todd Pletcher's horse on the 2, which will take money for sure. I think Bill Mott's Bill Mott from the rail is interesting. I'm gonna look and see what those first-time starters look on the board. But if none of them jump off the screen right at the beginning, then I landed with Shug. I just thought his race was pretty good. He galloped out okay, came back with a good breeze. I thought he was interesting.
That's the 10 Montauk Point, who's my top pick as well. And I agree. It was one of those, and I might have even learned this from you many moons ago, Sean, with the Shug first-time starters. Sometimes you can see the horse like figuring it out, learning something during the run. I felt like this was that type of run from Montauk Point. I also like the fact that the one horse to come back from that race has won. Granted, it was on the turf, but still, it's an indication that that's going to turn out to be decent form. The Shug 2-year-olds have been good as a group, and this one's just supposed to move forward. If you look at historical training statistics, Shug isn't as bad as some people would think first out. I mean, I don't think anybody ever thinks of him as a firster guy, and he's not, but he does win about 10% historically. When they come to their second start, that number moves up to about 16%, and that speaks to some of that improvement and maturity that I think both you and I are hoping to see in Montauk Point. You had mentioned the one Urban Forest as an interesting one. For me, I like the fact that this work tab has gotten significantly faster. I haven't seen the work, so I don't know if you have, but just looking at the tab, I think the horse is going to improve. And Mott's another guy who, again, no reputation for winning first out, but certainly can. The biggest thing about Urban Forest that interests me is I think this horse could really be a price, because I think there might be a knee-jerk, firster from the rail, Mott first out. That means that, you might be able to get a high single figure or even double-digit price as one to include. And then I also wanted to have some 9s on the tickets. Don't wait up. I like the looks of that gate work. Again, I'm just looking at the tab. Didn't see the workout, but an above-average firster sire in Upstart. And this horse cost 20 times the sire's stud fee at a 2-year-old in training sale. That typically means, if nothing else, the horse is going to have speed. And one other thing to mention about this one, this is another barn that historically does a lot better second up. So if Don't Wait Up shows any ability at all, I'll be putting in the horse tracker for next time, even if it doesn't work out on Saturday. So that's 10, 9, and 1 for me. As we move on to race number 7, we've got 3 and up $40,000 claimers going 1 mile on the inner turf. I mainly liked 2 fairly obvious ones in here. The 4 Restored Order could be compromised if all the speed on paper shows up, but this is a Saratoga turf race going long, and the speed often doesn't show up. This one could be the best speed and has to be used. And then the 3 gives me a chance to make a pun I think you'll appreciate, Sean. Assiduously had a tricky trip last time, caught between horses, coming wide, but definitely fits well on figures. My thought on assiduously is he could get it done with a ride that shows great care and perseverance.
That's beautiful. I mean, those are two obvious sources. I felt like maybe they would get overbet in here just because of Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher both dropping, which I don't really like that move. I kind of was going to take a stab with Extreme Force for Mike Maker just because Mike Maker's winning everything. I thought he's an interesting horse, move to the grass. If you're trying to come up with something different than the two most logical ones. I thought Rudy's horse, the 7, KK Ichikawa, I thought he had a shot at same thing speed. Last race wasn't too bad. They said plenty of times since. I thought they were interesting. I thought it was a very tricky race. I mean, I didn't really have any strong opinion. Wowed me. I think Maker from the outside also has got a little chance he draws in 13 of Voliero. But I thought it was a very tricky race. I just thought it looked like a couple traps. I mean, the 3 and 4 are obvious, but I thought they were, they could be trapped too.
No, you're probably right. And on my tickets, I'll definitely want to have some backups. I definitely was eyeing a couple of the runners you mentioned. Brico, the 1, is another I'll probably have somewhere. Took a little bit to win the maiden, but that's actually been a strong race for that level with 3 wins coming out of that field. And Brico should get a really good trip, just saving ground, and could get a jump on the deeper closers. The Bond Barn, after a couple of early winners, has been a little more mellow. So this is a 8 point, so I never mind one of their runners off the layoff here at Saratoga for underneath in race number 7. And that brings us on to race number 8. We've got an allowance race going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Sean, we'll let you kick this one off.
I thought this was interesting. I thought Pletcher's horse, the 1, Maham, was obviously, coming out of that key race. And remember, we looked at that race. That was an unbelievably deep race. Finished a good 3rd. I thought he was pretty obvious. Beyond him, I like the 6, Defeater, a little bit. Tom Amos cutting back off the layoff. I thought he was interesting. Shrewd trainer, kind of coming here. I don't think this was the last-minute decision they aimed at this. And also the 4, Speaker's Corner, same thing. Bill Mott off the layoff. We've got bet the first 2 times he ran. Obviously, had a long break now, but comes back here. I just liked, how I handicap. It's from a horseman's angle, and I just think when you see a guy like Bill Mott when he runs a first-time starter or a horse off a layoff, he doesn't feel pressure like other guys. He just doesn't do things that another trainer might do. I just think you have to be pretty confident the horse is doing well, and he's happy to run the horse, especially from Godolphin. They're not putting pressure on him. I think he can take his time. Where another trainer might have run this horse 2 months ago because he felt pressure, where Mott, he just doesn't feel pressure. He's going to get him to the race the right way. I thought he was interesting.
I had 4 runners, including 3 of the ones that you mentioned, but I actually made my top pick a different number. The 5, Ducale, won very well here on the 17th of July and has trained forwardly since, according to the work tab. I thought might be poised to run another big one. You mentioned Defeater, very, very logical to me, working well locally. I like the looks of that 5 furlong work, 2 back. And then if you look at the figure from back in February and you pump in improvement for the time between there, Defeater could live up to the name and topple the top one and all the rest. You talked about the entry, Mahamo and Asisham. They both have valid claims. I also like the fact that you get an entry with 1 speed horse and 1 closer. That's never a bad thing. And then you already made an articulate case on the 4. So I was going to kind of flop around and spread in there, maybe get a little bit more involved if the tote board seems out of whack to me. But it seems like a good spot to have a few runners on side, which will bring us to race number 9, one of our featured races of the day. We've got 2-year-old colts in the Saratoga Special going 6.5 on the dirt. I'd be a heel not to bring you in first on this one. Who's going to win your race?
Yeah, exactly. We like around the office, we call it our race. And it was here long before we were here. I just the name. I ended up on Pletcher, 7 Double Thunder. I thought his race in the Bashford Manor was interesting. He made up a lot of ground, took a lot of dirt, was able to kind of overcome that. I liked him. I think High Oak's interesting for the same thing. Bill Mott. Again, you're gonna find I'm pretty predictable when it comes to these races. I just think when Bill Mott runs a first-time starter in June, obviously he's done everything right. He's a nice horse. Won that race. Came back and his breeze was good on the 7th. I was pretty impressed with that. I thought they were interesting. Beyond that, I thought it was tricky. Asmussen's horse at 2 is I'd consider him, I guess, and I'd consider Dr. Jeff a Rudy's horse, but obviously he's 2-1 on the morning line. I'd be surprised if Double Thunder's is 6-1 when he goes to the post, but that's where I landed.
I get it. The horse finished up really well, and if there's speed too, it could definitely set up. My only issue was I did feel like it was a bit of a setup. It was one of those weird cases where the horse got left, but I feel like getting left might have helped a little bit. I'm not against the horse at all. Would definitely have on some tickets, but I was going to go for something closer to the pace, and Dr. Jeff was the one that I put on top, number 8. Very strong numbers in the debut effort and appears to be working forwardly since. I also just tactically like the outside draw for Dr. Jeff. I want to use at least a penny on the 1 Nakatomi, and I know it was in the slop, and I know it was 4.5 furlongs months ago, but the final time of that race was just fast enough. I can forget. This is a horse I supported in the Norfolk, and I thought ran okay there, just weakening late on probably not the best surface. I've thought about and talked about Nakatomi so much going back to April as one of the wards that I was expecting to bet at Ascot. I don't want to get beat here. I don't love the horse by any means, but will definitely be on tickets. And then you also talked about Gunite, who I really like, a 2-year-old this time of year who's shown the ability to use multiple running styles effectively. I think that's a sort of a hidden indicator of ability. This is a horse who's improved every start, and I thought might do well maybe with a mid-pack type trip in this spot. So I had it 8-1-2. Definitely respect for your 7 and 11 that you used here, but another race that's competitive, as evidenced by the fact that we came up with a bunch of different interesting horses to talk about.
I thought it was tough. I mean, I think it's a deep race, and I mean, you could land in a bunch of different places for sure.
We got grade 1 action in race number 10. It's the 4-star Dave going a mile on the inner turf, a race that's proved a key pointer for the Breeders' Cup Mile in years past. This one, on figures and form, a little bit more of a clear picture than what we've seen in some of the other races, but I'm curious to get your thoughts if you agree that Raging Bull looks a big and deserving favorite.
No, for sure. I mean, he's deserving favorite. Nice horse. I ended up on Set Piece, Brad Cox, because of his numbers, the way he's winning. He's riding a 3-race win streak. To me, I thought he was very strong in here. Raging Bull is very good too. I mean, I used those two. And I didn't mind Casa Creed. I thought he was interesting that he skipped the other spot, came here. Field Pass, I hate to say it, but Maker is just so dominant. I mean, the way he's winning races up here, you almost have to use anything of his. So I thought he was interesting. Like I said, as it's not it might not be the deepest field in the world, but it's very competitive. I thought any of them, there's no standout. The fillies, I can't. It's just, to me, it seems like God Stormy's probably going over the top. It certainly looks like that on form. The other ones, Daddy's a Legend's a big price. Blowout from the outside. She'll be speed from there. I thought she was interesting, but I just stuck with Set Piece. If I had to single somebody, I'd single Set Piece and just hope you beat Raging Bull.
All right, I'll have you as a clear type horse on number 5 and include some of the others you mentioned as backups. I think that Raging Bull is just finally developed into the horse that he always had the potential to be. And I forgive the last race. I think, but for a clear run through, he's riding a nice win streak now as a 6-year-old. And, because it's Raging Bull, I have to, in my writings, I will have to include the line, something to the effect of, he was denied a clear run last time, but they never got him down. You need the Scorsese references whenever you can get them. I'm going to include Blowout just on the pace angle. Now, it's raining as we record this on Thursday afternoon.
Now, I mean, I think you got to watch the turf. I mean, if they're on the grass tomorrow on Friday, if they're I think I could radically change as much rain. I'm looking outside; it's in torrential downpour.
It's already lessened on this side of town. I think that they'll be on the turf surely by Saturday, but
it just might change. I think speed's been holding. That might change a little bit.
Exactly. Blowout may not be in my picks anymore if it looks like it's all closers or something. But you know how it is when the inner gets baked out and or the rails down. Sometimes it just gets very kind to speed. I don't want to get beat by her. And you made a nice shout for Casa Creed. I normally don't like the closing sprinter types on the stretch out, but this horse is sharp and in the right hands that I trust. I trust moves from certain trainers that I don't like generally just because of the hands that the horse is in. And if Bill Mott deems this the right spot for Casa Creed, I'm not going to argue and get beat by the horse, at least on a backup line. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree 100% with that. And I thought Raging Bull's race in the poker, I mean, it was a good race, but I didn't think he had it. I didn't think the excuse. I thought he had enough. I just watching it. It just wasn't one of those races that when he finished, you were like, I thought, oh, he should have won if he had room. I thought he had every opportunity. I thought he just got beat on the square, to be honest.
Well, that's a great thing about racing. The difference of opinions is what makes it exciting.
Yeah, my view of it was he ran his race and he just got beat.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I thought between the little bit of bump at the start and moving into the fast part of the race and a little bit of a pocket there or lack thereof, I was willing to forgive. And it's more just that even with all the trouble, like the figure just came back. The figure came back a winning figure. And Alexandra on her best day, I mean, she's Group 1 stuff. So
I agree. No, I agree. I'm not knocking the horse. I don't think he had a big trip excuse in that race. I thought it was a good race. I mean, obviously with the number he ran and the way he did it, and it's a deep, good race. But I didn't think there was a trip excuse for not winning that race.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the 4-star Dave. It's a competitive race. We'll see if my view of Raging Bull proves to be correct. Let's talk about race number 11. It's our nightcap on Saturday. 3 and up New York allowance types going 5.5 on the turf. Sean, how are we going to get paid?
I ended up on Luna's in Charge, the 7 for Phil Bauer. He's having a good meet, kind of a quiet meet. He's a small stable, but he's had a good meet. The horse run once on the grass. It was a pretty good effort up here. Same distance, 5.5 on the grass. I kind of like that horse. I ended up with NYRA, the 2 and second, which is, it's kind of a little bit scary taking a horse that took 14 tries to break his maiden. But like back to my horsemanship angle, I just, I know how Bobby Robato trains, and they're pretty consistent horse. It's not like, I don't think the horse has changed much. So I don't mind that it took him that long. And I think he's one of those trainers and one of those horses just staying the same, as opposed to some of these other guys that, really have their horses, they kind of peak and are maybe over kind of trained or over prepped for a race. And then I ended up with a 10 Phantom Smoke for Clement on the outside. That was more of a stab off the bench. I thought he showed enough ability in his first 2 starts to have a chance here. But I was pretty strong on Luna's in Charge. I just think the horse ran well up here earlier in the meet. Looks like he's doing well. 3rd off the bench. Trainer's doing well. I think he actually will like the grass. I mean, he showed that he liked the grass here last summer. So that's where I landed.
I definitely get it and have in the mix. It's pretty uncommon that you see a horse that you can make an argument just based on figures that's better on turf, that has run so infrequently on turf. What do you put that down to? Looking at the PPs.
Well, you can see they tried it. They've tried to run him 2 other times on the grass and it came off. So I mean, they have tried to run the horse since that race. They've tried twice to run him on the grass and came off. Last race came off. So I don't know exactly why they haven't tried very often, but he's been a little bit all over the place. I mean, he's running long on the dirt, and he's kind of I think really 5.5. Is probably more his thing. His last race was good. I just think he might be, he might get a little price, a little value. I mean, if that race at Saratoga last summer, if that was his most recent race, you'd be looking at it, you'd be thinking, wow, this horse is spot on, just because it's buried down there in the form. I don't think that changes the performance. So I think sometimes you got to look down there and see it.
Absolutely.
You kind of forget, forget, but I just don't, sometimes you just, those kind of races, you kind of miss sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely. Top sheeting is a thing. And while I think we know from people who analyze races through databases, the most recent race does have an awful lot of signal, but if you can look beyond it, and there's reasons like, I don't know, being on a different surface, and you have to reach back 5 or 6 races to find the race that you think most accurately represents the form line you're going to see after today's race, that's how you can make money. And I'm actually now wishing I had Luna's in Charge higher in my picks after speaking to you about it. I went with, I mentioned NYRA as well in the picks, but my top pick was actually the 4, Dr. Blute, simply off the idea that looking at the pace scenario in this race, 5.5, where the pace often holds together, I thought Dr. Blute would probably end up being the best speed. Neuro, you mentioned the case about Robuato and the horse just coming along slowly and just getting incrementally better. I mean, this horse has some strong finish, and on figures, you can argue has the best figures of all. So why not use Neuro? And I think you're right that a lot of people might get put off, and maybe that leads to a little bit bigger of a price than what's representative of Neuro's chances. And then we've talked enough about Luna's in Charge. I had it 4, 2, 7 to close things out. Sean had the 7, the 2, and the 10. Let's chat for another minute while I have you here about some of the big stories of the meet. We've had some interesting ones. Steve Asmussen breaking the all-time wins record. That's one I know you were following closely. I know you've had a lot of dealings with him over the years. Feels like a very deserved award for the combination of horsemanship and basically running a business that he's done over the years with a stable of that size. What were your thoughts on that record-breaking win the other day?
Well, the coolest part is that it happened here. I mean, this guy runs horses. I think he had 14 horses in that day, Ellis and Indiana Downs and Louisiana Downs. I literally walked in his tack room the next morning, drop off some papers. I put a little note on there, souvenirs. I gave about 10 copies of it. But literally on his desk in his tack room were 10 condition books from different registers. I mean, that's how the guy is. I mean, that's how far flung his operation is. And they're on his desk. I mean, he doesn't have his assistants, all these places, they're certainly looking at him, but there are 10 books that he's looking at trying to make, decisions. So to me, the most important, the best part was it happened to be here instead of, Steve Asmussen watching on a TV, in the caverns of the grandstand, watching some horse win at Ellis Park or at home watching on a computer at Louisiana Downs or wherever else. So the magic of Saratoga, I just thought that was so brilliant. The way when he walked down, he was walking to the winner's circle along that first row of boxes, and the crowd was behind him, and they're cheering and clapping and yelling for him. I just thought it was such a cool moment. And you realize how the fans of Saratoga, I mean, the reason we're here and the reason Saratoga works is because of the fans. And that to me just was that was the most beautiful part of it all, was that it was here. He had his whole family here. His son was doing it. Was his one son was, I think Darren was a camp counselor, had to put away his phone, couldn't talk to him. He got out, like the camp was at a break. He was able to check his phone. This was between like the record tying win and the record breaking win. He got in his car, drove, picked up his clothes, drove here, and happened to be here for it. Yeah, so it's just this really magical moment when a guy's won. I mean, he will win 10,000 races. You think about that number. And for him to do it here at Saratoga in front of everybody with all his family, I just thought that was so magical. And the one thing about Steve Asmussen, you have to remember, he is an absolute racing fan. I mean, he is a fan who wound up a horse trainer. I mean, he lives it, he breathes it, and he's an absolute fan. And I think that's where, he's making money, but he is a racing fan. That's why he runs horses the way he does. That's why, you'll see him. I mean, you watching a simulcast at Lone Star, and there's Steve Asmussen, down there, for the 9th race, whatever. I mean, that guy is just, he is a fan. And I think that's so cool that it happened here in front of all the fans.
Great stuff.
Is the best.
So you're good at this game, predicting spots for horses in the future. Now, I didn't prep you for this, but this could be anything. This could be a race later this meet. It could be a horse that you saw here with your own eyes that you were interested in for the Breeders' Cup. Heck, it could be a 2-year-old you're really excited about and just think the sky is the limit for. Who has really impressed you that you've seen, or it doesn't have to. It can be more master of the obvious than some hidden gem. But I'm curious. I always love to have this conversation with you. You've come up with some good ones over the years.
Tough one. I'll be honest, I have not seen that, like the Drosselmeyer on the grass that, up here when I told you about him. And I haven't seen the Sweet Cat. I haven't seen the Sharp Susan yet. I just haven't seen that. That's the Silver Max. Remember him running back like the Silver Max runs on the grass, and Drosselmeyer. I literally wrote Drosso on my notepad because I couldn't understand what Billmont said when he breezed on the grass. So, to the answers, I haven't seen that horse yet, and there probably as much. I end up getting so busy with other stuff, so I'm not watching like I usually do. But I haven't seen that I can't the Oscar performance, like that type of horse yet.
You can give us an IOU. It's acceptable to give us an IOU.
I need to think about it too. I've got some notes around here. I got to look back. I tape them to this wall of horses that I see that I like. So I haven't seen that one that I'm like, wow, I can't wait for that yet.
You have any River D stable or Clancy bloodstock news for us? I know you're still very active on all those fronts.
So Clancy Bloodstock, we had a great second up for in a grade 2 with a filly named Jeannie B. And Woodbine got beat up just the dirtiest nose, got in front, got nailed on the line. But so that was pretty special. She's a lovely filly. We bought her privately in England for Mark Cassie and CJ Thoroughbred. So that was cool. And River D, we run 2 in I keep calling it the Turf Riders, the NYRA Turf Riders Cup, now called the Jonathan Shepherd. But to me, I'm a purist, so I'm still calling it the Turf Riders. And of course, being a turf rider, got to keep that moving, right? And if anybody asks why this NYRA Turf Riders Cup is named the NYRA Turf Riders Cup, it's because back in the day they were one and the same. The steeplechase crowd and the riders, those old turf riders, they were going to the bar at night and out in the morning, and it was a tribute to the New York turf riders to name a steeplechase after them because they were brothers. They're brothers in arms in this sport. It somehow got to be this chasm of turf riders, actually liking steeplechasing, which is sad. But anyway, that's my diatribe for the moment. But
it's come back into hand a bit.
No, it's changed. We don't get bashed like we did for about 2 decades up here from certain riders. But so anyway, Gibber Farrow and City Dreamer running the turf riders, and hope that obviously that's there'll be prices. Neither one will be favored by any means. But that would be, that's really what we're looking forward to. So hopefully a little luck in there would be brilliant. They both want firm turf, so I'm a little distraught with this rain. Obviously it'll dry out hopefully by next Wednesday, but I really wanted it like the road. But I'm hoping it stopped raining. So
it'll dry. It dries out quick up here. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that one. Mentioning old turf riders makes me want to ask you if you've seen the book. I was thinking I should have the editor on or something to talk about it, but there's a new collection of old Runyon pieces called, I think they called it I Got the Horse Right Here, clever enough name. Seemed like something that deserves a place on your shelf if you haven't seen it. I know Runyon's one of the guys you always go back to along with Joe Palmer.
Oh yeah, for sure. I haven't seen the book, but yeah, that's what I mean. Like the turf riders of the day. That race was named after the likes of Joe Palmer, Red Smith, and Damon Runyon because they were like, they were hanging out with the jump guys. The trainers and the owners and the riders and everybody's, the bar across Esposito's, right? It was the bar across the street from Belmont Park. And you walk in there and you'd have a bunch of old jump jockeys and a bunch of old turf riders. And, it was a real camaraderie. So, look, I just, I always say I don't go anywhere without my Red Smith reader. Those guys, right? The way they wrote about horse racing is just, if you can just, if you can get anywhere close to the way they did it, that's our goal. And all of them, Grantland Rice and all those guys. They're just, just great stuff.
Well, you carry the torch, my friend. I have to say, it's great to have some bastion of independent media covering horse racing and doing it in such an articulate and thoughtful way. Everybody, check it out. This is horseracing.com. physical copies of the Saratoga Special back at the track. One of the things that makes the summer up here special and fun is the work that Sean, his brother Joe, Tom Law, and the rest of the team do over there. I couldn't be a bigger fan. And of course, my first job in racing was covering the handicapping side for you many, many moons ago. Any closing thought for us today, Sean, on this segment of the show?
I mean, I touched on it before. I just think it's so important to be back here at Saratoga. You remember and realize why you were a fan of this sport, and it's just, I think all of us, you got to take that moment and really appreciate being here. And racing product's been good, and those moments like the Steve Asmussen moments, you just have to cherish. I mean, just to cherish. I think last year, obviously missing everything, it just it really kind of. I mean, I never have taken this place for granted. I mean, look, I wrote a book about it, and I'm writing a newspaper about it, and I come back every year. I feel like I've never taken it for granted, but I think after missing last year, it's just important to really try to soak it in and make sure you get over there and see your friends. Just do everything you can to appreciate and enjoy the sport that we all love. You think about the friends and people you've met, and I think it's just a moment to really just cherish how lucky we are to be involved.
That book you referenced, Saratoga Days, is a classic nearly 2 decades on, only held back slightly by its editor.
Thank God you were involved, man. I tell people now, I'm like, there isn't any big word. I feel like, I don't have time to read a book. I'm like, believe me, there isn't any big words in there. You'll be fine. But now you think back to that. I mean, that's amazing, right? 1999. That was a journal that I was writing kind of before blogs or anything else, right? I was writing every day for the Backstretch Magazine's website, which is gone. And wrote every day in 1999, published it in 2000, and they dropped off I self-published it. They dropped off 5,000 books on a rented porch on Union Avenue, and I'd broken my leg the week before. I'm sitting there looking at these 5,000 books, and I'm on crutches. I'm thinking, man, what have I done, right? I kept asking her, how much space is 5,000 books? Like, is it going to take up a lot of room, or what do you think? And all of a sudden, when you're staring at 5,000 books and you got to sell them on crutches, and you'll dig deep, right?
Oh my God, yes. Print on demand was not a thing in 1999. That would be easy. Yeah. I don't know. There might have to be another edition, or at least at the very least, with a new forward by the author kind of thing. Yeah,
for sure. What we want to do is we want to do a proper best of the special and really collect our best stuff over the last 20 years. And we were trying to do it this year, and it was basically my fault. I didn't get it off the ground, but that is something we want to do. I think that would be a great collection. Just
25 is a nice round number for that.
25 might be the way to go.
Yeah.
If we can last another 5 years, I don't know.
That's right.
That would be fun. It'd be a cool way to kind of celebrate. Maybe it's 25. Yeah, it'd be a fun way to do it.
Great stuff. Sean Clancy is one of the good guys, folks. Check him out on Twitter. You're by Sean Clancy. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then thisisHorseRacing.com is the website to check out all this great material. And it's as great as the stories are, there's also lots of actionable information for horse players. You're not going to get the same stuff you get other places in the special or This Is Horse Racing. You're going to get original reporting and a rapport with the trainers and jockeys. You'll get stuff you won't get anywhere else. So it's similar to how Steve Bick, because of his long-standing relationships, gets stuff other people don't get. Absolutely the case. You're an insider when you read this thing from a horse player point of view as well. All right, Sean, I will let you go, and I look forward to having you back. Maybe we'll do our traditional meet recap again this year as well.
That'd be fun. I look forward to it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Reminder, you can help out our friends over at America's Best Racing, and more importantly, you can have your voice heard by picking the nominees in the 2021 Fan Choice Awards for favorite small or mid-circuit racetrack. On YouTube, you can see the choices down there on the screen. Good array. Haven't decided fully who I'm going to vote for yet. There's a whole lot of good potential choices in this category. We're going to crowdsource it. We're going to let you pick. We got some partners in there like Lone Star Park. Great to see them up in the running. Some other great ones as well, but we'll leave it to you. Go to inthemoneypodcast.com/vote. That's actually going to probably be the easiest way to do this. A couple of weeks' time, you're going to be voting on favorite radio show or podcast. I'll let you vote your conscience on that one. This week, though, small mid-circuit racetrack, inthemoneypodcast.com/vote. Next up on the show, we have a man who I didn't have the chance to work with last week while Michelle Yu was more than capably sitting in for me. But 2 weeks ago, he beat me like a drum in 3 out of 3 head-to-heads. I think that improves his all-time record against me to about 6-13. But we'll see. We'll see who's right about that. We'll see if we can find an opportunity to have a new head-to-head on this Woodbine late pick 4 sequence. I am talking about, from inthemoneypodcast.com, our resident Woodbine expert, coming to us from a bucolic location in Michigan. I think that's what I'm going to call it. He is in the money. He is business manager Drew Coatney. Drew, how are things?
I'm good. All I remember, and that was 2 weeks ago, which feels like a moment. Lorena, I gave you 20-1, went off as the favorite. I said this horse is never going to hit the board. And what happened? The horse didn't even hit the board. I feel like you're giving me short shrift on that 6-13. I got to be batting above 500 at least. Here,
I'm not so sure. I felt like I had previously been doing to you in head-to-heads what JK has done to me, but it was a clean sweep last week, and you get all the propers for that one. But, nobody cares about that. They want to hear about what's going on going forward. Got some exciting stuff at Woodbine. We did get some better news about Americans' ability to travel up there. I'm not looking super likely for Queen's Plate just because, it is Saratoga and it's still not necessarily easy to get back and forth. I'm hoping by the time the big September racing comes around that I'm at least drawing live to get up there. But the racing's been good. You've been covering it very well over on the website and on these shows. And I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this sequence of races. We're going to start off with the 7th race at Woodbine on Saturday. It goes at approximately 4:12 Eastern. We've got a starter allowance, 3 and up types going a mile and a 16th on the synthetic. Drew, who is your idea of the winner?
Yeah, I love the number 7 Muskoka Giant in here for Mark Casse. This big purchase price at the Keeneland September sales for $350,000. Last out, did not want to go 7 furlongs. Was just asking out of the gate, asking down the stretch, asking as they went into the turn, and then all out on the lane was finally able to get back on terms with the rest of the field. So I think he's putting Casse, is putting blinkers on this horse to get some of that speed back in early. And the mile and the 16th is only going to help. If you look back at the PPs, you can kind of see they really didn't want to do 7 furlongs. I'm guessing maybe this was all they had on their table. I haven't looked back at the condition book, but 3rd off the layoff, husband's aboard, right? Gets a little jockey change refresh. Not that Kimura's bad up at Woodbine, but the number 7 Muskoka Giant at 8-1 can't be beat here in terms of the value that you're going to see on the number 7. The other horse I'm going to go with is logical is number 9 Green Fleet. I think just has best tactical here in the old second off the bench for us over and over again. I think the numbers continue to fit. The 5-year-old has a couple years on some of these. And so I'm going to go 2 A's here with the 7 and the 9 in this first race to kick off the pick 4.
So the Equine Edge GSR definitely agrees with you on Muskoka Giant being better going longer for whatever that's worth. It actually has Muskoka Giant better even a little bit longer still, if I'm reading this right, but definitely better at today's distance than the previous runs. But it's interesting. I looked at 3 runners in here and not either of the 2 you mentioned. I mean, I get them both and could definitely be easily convinced to back up with, but there were 3 others I wanted to have at least in some configuration, starting with the number 10 Meyer, who I thought was an improving 4-year-old in the 3rd race off the bench for a hot jockey who I was hoping might be able to get a good trip from the outside in this spot. The 6 Reliability I thought was kind of interesting. Yes, maybe an ironic name for one who hasn't looked so reliable in the last 2 subpar runs, but now this is another horse like the top pick, 3rd race off the bench. And I felt like there were other excuses in those last 2 rounds, namely not great breaks and going wide. Now, we've talked many times about how sometimes when horses don't break, they just habitually don't break. And maybe this is a bum steer on Reliability in that regard. But I think with a clean getaway, Reliability is worth keeping in the mix in some way, shape, or form. And I think I have to use Ultimate Storm, too. Looks very clear on the Timeform US pace projector and is one that, looking at not literally a double flow upgrade according to the stats on racingflow.com, but looking at a combination of the Racing Flow data and the Timeform US pace data, I think Ultimate Storm could go a lot better, setting a more measured pace. What do you think of either of those three? You think I'm in the wrong direction, or do you just think it's a super open race?
I think it's a super open race, and I was trying to eke out some value. I wouldn't fault anyone if they're trying to look for a little bit of I think you're gonna. I would be shocked if we see a horse go off at 5-2, or lower. I think you're going to see 3-1, and it's a great win pool bet type of race where you should be able to get some value, and don't take anything less than 5-2 in here because it's tough.
That sounds totally legit to me. Let's move on to race number 8 at Woodbine. We've got some stakes racing action with the 3-year-olds on the turf going 7 furlongs. The Greenwood Stakes in honor of old Greenwood Racetrack. Tommy Massis has some stories about that place that I've heard, and it sounds like one that I wish I could have gotten to. But the Greenwood Stakes for these 3-year-olds, I guess I'm supposed to kick this one off, and I'll do it. And, not just because I'm a huge fan of J.J. Walker and the old TV show Good Times. I think Dynamite might be the horse that you want in here. Interestingly, according to the Timeform race ratings, this is an easier spot than the last allowance run, despite being a stake. But what I really liked about Dynamite was I thought that he had the right blend of speed and stamina to get a stalk and pounce type trip from the outside. And then the other pick, the one for whom I wore my T-shirt today, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. A quote that may be apocryphally attributed to Wayne Gretzky, but I've seen that in enough places that Gretzky the Great made me want to put the shirt on. This is a tough, popular horse, makes a lot of sense as the presumptive best speed, and seems equally good across turf and synth. Quite possibly has improved since we last saw him. I thought you could maybe try to get out 7-2 and lock this one up. Drew, is it that simple?
Oh, I love this head-to-head that we're about to have here because I like the number 1 Red River Rebel on top at 15-1 because my trip note here is back up. I think the figures fit overall with this bunch on debut in the 2021 season. So that'd be the 3rd start for this horse. I think there was either a dead rail, the horse didn't want to fire, or maybe wasn't good enough, but then came back and ran a better figure at 7 furlongs. And I just say this had to be so frustrating for Hernandez that got stuck down on the rail, checking the entire race to stalk the eventual winner, and gave up at the 8th pole. So I think there's a ton of upside, and Attard knows what he's doing up there as well. So the number 1 Red River Rebel at 15-1, if I can get away with that and let this one take the pocket trip, oh my goodness, give me that all day. But I'm also going to go for the logical, the number 5 County Final could really be anything after facing some of those tough, impressive 3-year-olds south of the border. The big purchase price for West Point, they are breeders. They gelded this one. They're shipping up north to collect paychecks. They want money. And I know that they're pointing this one to start making some stakes dollars for County Final. I wanted to make sure I got that right in my PP. So at 3-1, the number 5 County Final is my second choice. Both are going to be A's for me, and I'm fading the other 2 that you said, but I can see the cases. I'm not going to say, hey, I'll take 20-1 on them if they actually get up and win. So I'm 5 and the 1 as my A's, but I see your cases on the others.
I'm not sure how we can structure a head-to-head appropriately on this, given that I'm going for the 2 at the top of the market and you've got many longer shots. My issue with Red River Rebel was I'm just not sure the horse is going to want turf. I don't really see a lot in the breeding that says that's going to be the case. But, I mean, there's no reason to talk you off a horse that probably should be all of 15-1. And I kind of wanted to just see a race from County Final, who's been away for so long, training here at Saratoga, now shipping north of the border. So those were the reasons for my hesitation on those 2. But we'll see. It'll be sort of maybe more of a spiritual head-to-head. We'll just, based on the race results, if either of yours hit the board and I get 1 winner and 1 off the board, like I think we call that a tie kind of thing, because we got to factor in the prices. But we'll look after the fact and we'll decide who had the better opinion about this year's Greenwood Stakes. When we do these things, it's always in good faith. So we'll proceed with that in mind too. Race number 9, we've got a synthetic allowance race going a mile and a 16th on the synthetic. And Drew, I will throw this one right back in your court.
Yeah, I think we're going to land on the same one here. The number 1 Dolder Grand at 8-5 for Cassie as well. Light bulb went off, I think, in the last running, and just was able to just blow the doors off of the Woodbine contingent up there. So we'll continue to progress and in my estimation, earn that 90 buyer figure, and I think can continue to build off of that, especially the rail and the speed will help. The interesting horse that's going to help juice some things up, whether in the horizontals or specifically verticals, is the number 8 finalist at 15-1. Just a weird race down the lane last out. Talking the pace as they tip for home. Eventual winner blows by, and this jockey was wrapped up as if like to say, oh, I don't know if I really want to keep going. I don't know if I have the horse. That track was yielding. So today gets back on the all-weather. Should be a little bit more even running, and I think there's just so much more left with this one, especially at 15-1. The figures fit underneath. Great play at 15-1 or more.
It's a compelling case for the long shot, and you predict correctly. I am with number 1 Dolder Grand. It took a while to get going, but not necessarily just the penny dropping. Simpler than that, a case of getting on the right surface. And as I talk about many times, a lot of times a horse with form like this, surface switch, big number, people look the next time and say, hey, is this horse going to regress to the mean? I'm with you, Drew. I think very often they improve again, second time on the new surface, adding to the appeal. This one looks like the clear best speed, and again, could improve. The interesting alternative I had, or the other one that I definitely wanted to use at least as a backup, was the number 2 Super Watson. And it just comes down to the trip. I can see this one pulling first time for Saratoga, should be stalking. And if the 1 doesn't go on with it for some reason, I think it's Super Watson who could benefit. And I don't mind your idea at all about trying to get that price horse number 8 up into the mix as well. Let's talk about the last race on the card. Saturday night, Woodbine's Nightcap, 3-up filly and mare maiden special weight, with going 6 furlongs on the synthetic, with it looks like 64,000 in the pot, a little bit over actually. Drew, how are we going to get paid in this pick 4 sequence?
Cold single, and I love singling. In the last, we got Gallardo aboard. He won for us last weekend as well, a couple winners. And I'm going the number 5, Ride the Wind, at 5-2. The trip note last out I've written had decent early position, then got shuffled back 4 lengths. On hold, stuck in traffic. Leader had the clear running and kept on across the wire. This one, though, ran good down the lane and should only be better second off the layoff, finishing a short 2 lengths behind the eventual winner. So the number 5, Ride the Wind, should only get better with, again, Attard being the trainer and knowing what he's doing up there, firing at 20% with 92 runners. So he is doing things right up there. Cold single, number 5, Ride the Wind. I think sometimes myself included try to get creative in these wide open nightcaps, but I'm going single here. What are you doing?
I get it. I'm with you. I think that what's this horse called? I wrote down in my notes, Ride the Wide, and I knew that was wrong. Ride the Wind. That sounds a little bit better. Ride the Wind. I don't know what Ride the Wide would mean. Very logical. Too logical on the figs to do too much digging. Unlucky to be a maiden, chasing the loose winner last time. All the reasons that you said earlier about Ride the Wind make me want to use. I will have a backup line going through the 8. Is There a Forest? Just looks so clear on pace figures, Loose and Lonely out there on the lead, that I need to have at least a few lines going through Is There a Forest. Normal second improvement too would make that one a little bit dangerous, but most of the money will run through the 5. So there you go. We have an interesting combination of agreement and disagreement in these 4 races at Woodbine on Saturday. Looking forward to them. Looking forward to following Woodbine as the summer goes on and we get closer and closer to this rescheduled Queen's Plate. Sometimes, Drew, you'll have a couple of spot plays for us elsewhere on the Woodbine card. You got any of that type of information for us here today? Maybe potentially based on the horses to watch you've been doing for our free In the Money podcast newsletters, which folks can sign up for at inthemoneypodcast.com/email. But what do you got in the rest of the card?
Yeah, I'll give race 1. And I've been on vacation, so apologies to anyone looking for Woodbine trip notes. Next week, we'll get back to the regular schedule when we're back in the office. But the number 1 Super River, I'll just, as raced twice, maiden special weight, then dropped down to the optional claiming, got the win, and now is in for the optional claimer, going 5.5 furlongs. And on debut, lost position early. Stalk made a few subtle, like, hurry-up moves along the backstretch to kind of like maybe get up. And then the jockey just asked around the far turn and then gave up. And then the winning effort made 2 moves. And when I see 2 moves, that means this horse has something. And it got shuffled out and then tried to establish position again. Today, I think is going to be the clear lead, is going to be able to make 1 move more efficiently, jump up in figures, and win at a 3-1. Anything under 5-2 should be a little too short for me. So I'm looking at 5-2, 3-1 is a good value here on a straight win bet.
All right, number 1 in race number 1. Did you have one other you mentioned?
I thought I did. I don't. So just the number 1 in race 1. And I apologize here.
I think it was because it was in one of the races we already covered. Maybe is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
There you go. That's the miscommunication. I'm not accepting a host fail on that one. That's a guest fail. Just to,
guest or management fail. One of the 2.
Yes, we could put it on both. We'll go either end of the food chain here. Well, Drew, thank you so much for joining, and looks lovely where you are. I assume you have some good cooking plans for the weekend.
Yeah, we're about to fire up the smoker, do some spatchcock chickens, and we have the vinegar-based coleslaw that's been going since yesterday. So we're in good shape with our local meat shop for cocktail hour. They gave us some hot beef jerky, but it's like thick hunks of it. It's not the thin stuff. It's not dehydrated too much. It's fantastic. So slice that up with some cheese and some pimento cheese spread crackers. You're doing good.
So for those who don't know, not food geeks, spatchcock chicken, they take the backbone out and you put it flat. Now, I usually do that with the classic Italian preparation, the chicken under a brick, high heat, and then you serve it with salsa verde. But I get it on the smoker because you're going to get a lot more smoke in that bird by increasing the surface area. Is that the thought process there?
And not only that, but I feel like whenever you do, maybe only beer can chickens avoid it. But if you're just roasting a chicken, the underneath all of the juices, because you're going so long, just get kind of icky on the bottom side and you don't get that crispy skin. So if you like dark meat, do the spatchcock version, just cut out the backbone, lay it on flat, and all of that dark meat gets nice and crispy and not just over fattened because you're doing a long and slow cook for 2.5, 3 hours. Take off at 155. Trust me, it'll raise up to 165 when you let that rest for 30 minutes, and it is unbelievably good.
You can't get this kind of horse racing analysis just anywhere, folks. Drew Coatney, thanks so much for your time today.
All right, thanks, Pete.
Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at Equine Edge. You've been hearing me talk about this, and if you haven't taken advantage, there's still time, but it's not going to last forever. A free month of Equine Edge, this AI-fueled handicapping software. There's also a betting tool involved with it, and you can get it for free for a month. That's much longer than any of the other offers out there. equineedge.com/free money. That'll get you there, or just go to the equineedge.com page, and that's EQUINEDGE, and go to the sign up page and use the promo code free money. Either way, you'll get what you want. I've had several people come up to me in the last week telling me about exactas they hit, pick threes they hit because of Equine Edge, how it's changed their handicapping, especially the GSR, genetic strength rating, and SOR, strength of race, that really help you get a line on bloodlines and class, 2 things that a lot of players in the speed and pace oriented world can glaze right over. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely worth checking out. For more, go to equineedge.com. Next up on the show, very happy to be joined once again from Equine Edge. You heard about the program in the ad right before the show, and now you see the man behind so many of these algorithms, the Scotty algorithm being the top one, but really the brainchild. Equine Edge was the brainchild of Scotty McKeever, who joins us now. Scotty, how are things?
Good, Peter. How are things with you?
I'm doing well. You've been traveling. You've been putting a lot of miles under you. Let me ask you this. Do you ship well?
I do. I actually relax on a plane, and it's actually sometimes the only time I actually do get a chance to relax. So just flew back to Florida and now back here at Del Mar, over across the street from the racetrack here at the Del Mar Hilton Hotel. I'm outside right by the pool and the patio area. It's a beautiful day here today. A little bit sunny. I probably have a little bit of sweat going on, but I like it.
Poolside meetings are the best kind of meetings. I had a couple while I was out there recently, and there's definitely something to be said. Outside in Saratoga today, it's more like rainforest conditions. We're very envious of you out there. Going to be excited to be talking to you next week. We're going to do a little bit of role reversal, I guess. I'm going to come on your broadcast for Pacific Classic Day. I'm really looking forward to that. Looking forward to the rest of this Del Mar meet. We've got a lot of good stuff going on, including the Little Red Feather Cares tournament on closing weekend. Some other contest activity. You're an avid contest player yourself. How's your contest play been going? What targets do you have circled on the calendar coming up?
Well, Del Mar, I think, has a tournament this weekend. It's a $5,000 entry. I'm probably going to enter into that, maybe get an entry or two. But, I haven't played many tournaments of late because I've been doing so many shows, especially since coming down here to Del Mar. But it's been a good year for me, and I've done well. I mean, winning the Pegasus was a highlight for me, obviously, and that's kind of my home turf as well. So I always shoot for the Pegasus, and so I really love that tournament that they put on. So. But, I plan on playing on more of them throughout the year, the BCBC, of course. And of course, I'm going to the NHC here in a couple of weeks. I know you're not going to be there. You're going to be at Saratoga, but we're going to miss you there. But, because I won the Pegasus, if I win the NHC, which is going to be challenging, but I'm going to give it my best go, I get $1 million bonus for winning the Pegasus.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you're going to be part of our NHC preview show. I won't be there physically. Too hard to leave Saratoga for me on Travers weekend, but I'm hoping to be able to call in to Steve Bick's coverage if he'll have me. We'll be doing that pregame show. Would love to get you and Dylan Donnelly and some of the other bonus babies on there. It's been a few years now since these bonuses have been introduced. They haven't been hit yet. Perhaps this is the year. A lot of very serious players taking a shot. I don't know how many are going to end up being in the field at Bally's in a few weeks' time. We'll get that information. But I don't know. It's going to happen sooner or later, so why not you?
Well, I'm going to give it my best go. The Mythical has not really been my best format. The cash games have been where I excel. I like playing exactas and trifectas, and so that kind of suits me. And then I don't fear, as you know. So usually I have the highest churn of any tournament usually because unless I just lose right away, which is very possible. But so I'm going in with some different tools that I'm testing right now for Equine Edge, and I'm hoping that they're going to help me. And one of them is the simulated race, which I think I've showed you. And so I'm going to try that and use that. It's kind of dangerous using a brand new tool to try to help me, but since that format is not always the best for me, I got to try something different and outside the box. What do I have to lose? So, so I'm gonna, because pace makes the race, and I agree with that. Although I'm a class player, I do believe in pace, and so I'm hoping that the simulation mock race will help me.
When will the mock race be rolling out on the commercial product?
So I test for up to probably a year, sometimes 2 years before I put anything to the website. So I have to test it. It's got to get past me first, and I get a lot of stuff, and I just want to make sure we know I get the statistics and see. Right now we've got the mock race. We can predict who's going to be on the lead in the second call 36% of the time. So I'm hoping to get it to 40%, but those 4 points, it seems like nothing, but that 4 points could take a year. So I still want it to get a little bit more accurate, but I'm getting there. It's a lot of testing, a lot of beta testing.
Let me ask you a live bankroll tournament question. There are betting tools baked in to Equine Edge. Are you more using the handicapping side of Equine Edge, or do you use the betting tools as well to help you craft those exactas and trifectas you were talking about?
So the ticket generator, which has 10 different algorithms that make up that ticket generator, and I utilize that. But the best way to utilize that is if you want to make sure that you want it to be recognizable. You don't want to generate a ticket and then change it 5 or 6 times. So a friend of mine the other day played 6, and what he did was it was a 20-cent pick 6, and he played a pick 6 and came back for first leg. Well, it got in the tip on the one horse in the first leg, and so what he did was he forced the system to single that one horse in the first leg, and then based on his $100 budget, generate. That's the only change he made, and based on chance of winning, if he was right with that and It ended up being a good situation for him, and he took that $100 and made $3,600. So that's the best way to use it. So I do use it that way. Of course, depending on the race, maiden races, first-time starters, horses doing something for the first time, the GSR, which stands for genetic strength rating, is an amazing, and that's one of 26 algorithms, but it's a good one. And that one I utilize in the tournaments, shots in the money 34% of the time. So you can find some really big prices there. And I also use the Scotty long shot for first-time starters. And we're going to see one here tomorrow, and that we'll talk about here when we cover the late Big Five at Del Mar. But there's a first-time starter, and that first-time starter Scotty long shot, I don't know what it is, but there's something with that.
Interesting. All right, let's go and look at the product. We're going to do something different today. For folks listening, it won't be that helpful, but you can go back and check on YouTube if you want to have a look at what the product looks like. As we've mentioned many times, equineedge.com/free money gets you that free month of the program. We're going to start off with race number 6 here on Saturday. We've got 3-year-old filly allowance types going a mile on the turf. Scotty, I'll let you kick things off.
Well, I like the 12-horse Thrilling best. I'm not thrilled about the post. The connections can't be thrilled about the post, but the horse is stretching. That really bodes well. So I think for Michael McCarthy, Trevor McCarthy's aboard, 6-1 in the morning line. And the horse on our morning line is 3-2. Has a 71 GSR, so has the highest GSR in the field. I think this 12-horse can be really tough, even from that outside post. At 8 furlongs on the turf at Del Mar, the horse has some room to get over, especially with that kind of speed. I think Thrilling could be the horse. I'm going to throw the 4 and the 5 in there just in case, because when you have an outside post like that, usually the jockey has to ask a little bit, which could hurt the horse late. But I do think Thrilling is the horse to beat. But I'm going to go 12, 4, 5 in there.
I absolutely agree. I have the same top 2 numbers as you, including Thrilling as the top pick. Lots of angles. Clear on pace figures. Comes out tops on a couple of the different Equine Edge algorithms. We've talked before about how when the algorithms line up, that can lead to a powerful play, and you never need to twist my arm to press up a Michael McCarthy runner. No. The other one that I had listed, as you mentioned, the 4, Burgoo Alley. This one improved on the stretch out, tactical speed. Another I want to include, 12 and 4 for me, 12, 4, 5 for Scotty in race number 6. And with that, we'll move on to our 7th race on the card. We've got 3 and up Calbred maidens with 70,000 in the pot, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. For me, Irondale was the one I listed on top. This is another one that looks strong on multiple of the Equine Edge algorithms. The last run was not good, but there was some trouble, and it preceded a layoff, so I'm inclined to be forgiving. I also wanted to use number 3, Assurance, in this spot. This is the runner who comes out top on that GSR, the genetic strength rating Scotty's been talking about. I also did some digging in the pedigree. The Dam won first out, and this one's by a slightly above average debut sire in Smiling Tiger. 4 and 3 for me in race number 7. Scotty, how do you see it?
Racing easier, showed a lot of speed before giving up late. The jockey just gave up late. No doubt about it. In this one, you got Jessica Piper aboard. She's good at getting the horses to relax up front. I think this one's going to try to go gate to wire. The 3-horse you mentioned is the first-time starter who's got some really good breeding here, and the top GSR in the race. And Scotty Longshot, first-time starter. We talked about that just a little bit earlier. And so Assurance is a horse you have to watch out for. Has a decent win percentage in a race that looks wide open. The other one, Gerlach. I have a note on this horse. Last time on the turf, and broke from the rail last going 5 furlongs. No chance. This horse didn't run bad. Jockey really never asked, and now gets back on the dirt. Gerlach could be tough, and my note was, seemed to have a ton of horse at the stretch, and then the jockey just let off. I think you're looking at the money run here, so don't ignore the 6. And then just a long shot look here. This new Soy Fei, the 2-horse, this one has a 15-1 on the morning line, but the Equine Edge morning line, the EE morning line, I was really surprised to see a 5-1 on the morning line. I have no other reason to use this horse other than, why is the EE morning line so low? You got Tyler Bays who's going to get this horse out the gate. So maybe throw the 2-horse in there, but I'm going to use 3, 4, 6, and 2 in that order.
Okay, in that order. That was going to be my next question. We're having a little bit of connectivity issue, so but I mean, that recap explained what anybody might have missed. 3, 4, 6, and 2 for Scotty. I like it 4, 3. Let's talk about race number 8 on this card, where we move on to stakes action, the CTT and TOC stakes. 3 and up fillies and mares going a mile and 3/8 on the turf. And Scotty, we'll keep it with you.
Tapwater for sure is the horse to beat, and this one was, Mike Smith did not give this horse its best ride last time out, and you need to throw that race out. The horse was absolutely best in the race, has the top Scotty pick, lukewarm win percentage, but all the win percentages are a bit average in this race, has a good GSR. Tapwater's the horse to beat, and you also get Umberto who gets on the horse. Nige Blanche, though, the one horse, this is one you're going to have to watch out for. Had a very poor trip last time out, probably was best in the race. The SOR strength of race matches up in this field. For me, it was those two horses. I might add the 5-horse ride for the cause, but I think it's 4-1-5. And just a special mention, a long shot that could come in there, especially if the pace is pretty hot up front, and that is Global Brand coming in from Gulfstream Park.
I have another number to throw out there potentially in this spot in race number 8. I thought that the 6 Epidemia's Girl was interesting, coming out of some good races, and I thought might just have a pace advantage against this group. I absolutely saw the case for number 4 Tapwater, and I put it in very similar terms. Tough trip last time when not allowed to run early and getting stuck in a vice. And, Mike Smith is awesome, but it's a big rider switch right now to Rispoli, the way that he is attacking these turf races. I liked it 6-4. Scotty had it 4-1, 5, and 8. Race number 9, we are in the allowance ranks for Calbreds once again. 6 furlongs on the dirt for this one. The number 3, Let's Get Lucky, has a pace advantage, I think, and maybe a little bit of a final figure edge, well suited to the turn back in distance. The 1, Katamako, fits very well, back on the best surface, second time off a long layoff. There was a big dirt figure on debut that this one can theoretically improve from. I did think it was interesting that he loses Hernandez to another in here. That runner is the 6, Big Story, back off a long absence, but between picking up Hernandez and the work tab, I want to leave in. I had it 3-1 and 6. Scotty, what did you see?
Well, Let's Get Lucky. This one has burnt some. This one is a dead nuts front runner for sure. Is the horse to beat. But when I ran the simulated race, I was a little bit surprised to see the 1 horse Katamako for Kristen Mulho, who's absolutely been on fire, gets the lead. And I think from the rail position, I think that Abel Cedillo might send, and this horse might surprise up front. 5-2 on the morning line. And 5-1 an hour morning line, though, but that doesn't scare me. And I think that's because Let's Get Lucky, the 3 horse, is going to take all the money with Joe Bravo, but maybe could be vulnerable here with Katamako, who maybe could surprise taking it to who's going to be the favorite, the 3 horse. But I used only 3 and 1 in here. I think the 1 horse Katamako did not like the turf last time out, gets back on the preferred surface here, and is very, very fast. And I think you might see the same type of.
We wrap things up in our nightcap, race number 10, 3 and up filly and mare allowance types, going 5 furlongs on the turf. Scotty, how are we going to get paid?
Well, Anna Fantastic is a horse I bet last time out, and the horse is pretty consistent. Didn't have any excuses last time out on the 18th of July. I really do think this race is wide open. I mean, wide open. I think you could see any kind of price here. I did have a hard time. I will say this. The horse I'm leaning towards is the top GSR horse by 5 points. Isn't She Lovely? And I think this one could possibly clear. This one can rate a little bit. I think the post position is good. Had the inside last time out, was pressed a bit before getting a second place finish against a tougher group, $100,000 allowance optional. This is a $40,000 non-winners of 1. And this one's been off a little bit of a layoff. Could be a little bit keen, but Mike Smith, Richard Mandela, 10-hole. This one's fast. Second Scotty pick. Anna Fantastic might be your lukewarm favorite, but this is going to be wide open on the betting board. But I would plan on spreading in here.
10 and 2 is the top picks, and basically as many as you can as Bs. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm seeing here as well. Like I just think it's a really, really wide open group. Interestingly, Roses and Candy, the 5 horses, 15-1 on the morning line and 40-1 on the EE morning line, but it's Scotty's long shot. So maybe for the money, I don't know that this horse can win. I don't know if it's classy enough. I don't think so. But maybe if you're playing a vertical, maybe throw the 5 horse Roses and Candy. I certainly won't use this horse in my horizontals, but I definitely would use Roses and Candy, the 5 for the verticals.
Okay, very interesting. I'll make a note of the 5 for the verticals. We have the same top pick Number 10, Isn't She Lovely? Looks like the best speed. I like the outside draw. And as you point out, very strong on various Equine Edge algorithms. There is some scenario where the 4 Fantail might shake loose, especially if the rider on the top pick isn't aggressive. The form of Fantail's last race is working out well, and might be a little bit better than she looks, I think. Another I'll name check is Lalick, number 9. Could be best late on the cutback. This one has amassed a pretty nice body of work turf sprinting. I wanted it 10, 4, and 9, but I definitely take your point that it might not be as simple as that. And certainly your top pick and the algorithm, the Scotty algorithm's top pick, the 2, Anna Fantastic, makes plenty of sense, and I'll probably list technically as a B in my selections. Scotty, great stuff. We appreciate you coming on as ever, and Godspeed this weekend. We hope you do very well out there at Del Mar. Remind folks again where they can see more from you this weekend.
Well, I do my shows in the morning at about 9:30 Pacific this morning. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the bell, and you'll get notifications. You can subscribe to Equine Edge as well, and then you'll get the email notifications of my shows. I do at 9:30 Pacific every morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and cover Del Mar. So we're covering Del Mar. Sometimes we're betting on races that are coming up during the day, Saratoga, of course, things like that in the morning, and just having a good time. The chat room is a lot of fun, so you can always watch my show there.
Let's get involved, folks. Be a lot of fun to see what Scotty's up to out there. Reminder about the tournament this weekend. And again, that LRF Cares tournament coming up September 5th to benefit charity, $500 buy-in, live bankroll. Go to dmtc.com to get more information about that one. Scotty, we will see you very soon.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. I want to thank our guests one more time, Sean Clancy, Drew Coatney, and Scotty McKeever. We'll thank our founding partners at the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. What a fun gumbo event that was with them this week. We raised plenty of money, but hey, horses eat a lot, and there's plenty more to be raised. The barbecue at the barn is coming up. There's still some whiskey available. We would really like you to support our friends at the TRF, trfinc.org/players, the place to do that. Shout out to our friends at 10 Strike Racing. So great to see the purple and black in the winner's circle this week at Saratoga. I was hollering my head off for Seafoam on Wednesday. Good stuff as ever from the purple and black. What else? Got to thank all of you, the listeners and viewers, for making these shows so much fun to do. If you like being part of our community, I recommend joining us for Horse Player Happy Hour. We're going to do a show this Thursday, races 3 through 10. We get very lively conversation going in the comments. The listeners, the viewers, you're part of the show on Horse Player Happy Hour, and it's the best deal in contest. $20,000 added to the prize pool, these interconnected series of contests. You can jump in today and have a great shot at one of those 2 seats for the BCBC, and you're not out of it even for both of them. Plus, it's a normal feeder where you can qualify in to the Breeders' Cup betting challenge that way. This stuff isn't to be missed. It's been very popular, but I'm actually a little surprised it hasn't been more popular because it's a great deal for players and it's all for charity. So, and it's fun. So join us. Horse Player Happy Hour. Look for the link over on horseplayers.com. Heck, just come on in and play all the ones. It's $20. And again, that VIG, as it were, going to Thoroughbred Charities, the TAA and the TRF. That's going to do it. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kitchen. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.